And a lot of those guys don't follow him to the ground. They allow him to get back up, and he gets back in a gunfight, and he's able to put those guys out. Now, I am betting on that Ilia Topuria is going to hurt him, and when he does hurt him, he's going to fall to the ground and try to finish him like Islam did. It'll be interesting because he is bigger from when I heard him on the Joe Rogan podcast, like 191, I think he was walking around. It's massive. So for him to cut to 145, it just seems almost like, how did he do that?
Demetrius Johnson has backed Ilia Topuria ahead of his showdown with Charles Oliveira, claiming that Topuria will surpass Islam Makhachev's legacy by finishing Oliveira. Meanwhile, Renato Moicano, in a recent interview with Ariel Helwani, expressed confidence in the unpredictable athleticism of Ilia Topuria. He shared his interest in seeing a future fight between Islam Makhachev and Topuria, pointing out that Topuria has the potential to beat Islam. Reflecting on Topuria's past performances, Moicano made it clear that Ilia is the real deal.
Too, I think I would like to watch Islam and Topuria, and I think right now, I think Ilia Topuria would beat Islam Makhachev.
Wow.
I think so.
You think he knocked him out like he did in 145?
Man, we know it's very hard to knock Volkanovski out. You know how good Volkanovski show up on his last performance against a very dangerous guy. You know, Volkanovski, he looking on his prime again. He did the 5 rounds, man. And Max Holloway just went to the lightweight division on the beginning of the last year, knocked one of the most dangerous guys on the division, and then got back to 45 and got knocked out by Topuria. So that shows Topuria is, I think he's the real deal.
While a potential fight between Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria is being speculated for the future, Renato expressed discomfort with the matchup between Ilia and Charles Oliveira. On the other hand, Ariel Helwani, despite acknowledging that a fight between Ilia and Islam would have been outstanding, expressed genuine appreciation for the current matchup, noting that Charles makes perfect sense for Ilia.
I think with his grappling and like the way he moves his head and his boxing, I think he would impose a lot of trouble to Islam Makhachev. But now it's just speculation. We're not gonna see that fight anytime soon. So let's see what Charles and Topuria gonna do. What do you think, Ariel, about this fight? Do you like the matchup? Charles being the guy that fight for the belt?
I wanted Islam. That's the one I really wanted. If it's not Islam, I think it's the fight that makes the most sense. I saw Justin Gaethje say he was disappointed, he was offended. I don't know if there's anyone else that makes sense for Ilia to fight.
At the same time, Renato voiced his support for Oliveira, highlighting the struggles and hard work that define Oliveira's journey. He emphasized that Charles's story brings a strong emotional connection and makes people want to see him win. However, while he expressed hope for a Charles victory, Renato admitted that he sees Ilia Topuria as the favorite in this fight.
Man, especially me from the Brazil, and one thing is American when people say, hey, this guy comes from the favelas, he was really poor, but they don't know, they don't know. But me, that born in Brazil and then know what he's been through, and the guy be such a cool dude, like respectful and humble, and he got everything from the scratch, and now he was a former champion, having the possibility to be a champion against a guy as Ilia. I just hope he wins, that's like a dream. But, that's real life. Real life doesn't give a shit, so I don't know. I hope Charles wins, but I think Topuria should be the favorite.
Acknowledging Ilia Topuria's run at lightweight, Luke Thomas also shared his thoughts. He noted that Ilia has made an impressive rise in a very short time, proving his dominance back-to-back and earning his place as one of the most favored and admired figures in MMA history. He also offered a comparative analysis of each fighter involved in the upcoming matchup.
That Topuria versus Oliveira fight, I love this fight. I love this fight. Topuria going up at 55, I think I would have loved to see him stick around at 45. The weight cut was a problem. We all know the story. Here he is at 55. We already know his power carries. He seems driven. We just saw a guy in his 20s win the welterweight title. It'd be really nice to see somebody in their 20s win the lightweight title. Like, that would be a lot of fun. Oliveira is an absolute guaranteed war horse that you know will bring the fight to Topuria. No question about it. A guy who was a champion himself. A guy who's had an incredibly decorated run at lightweight. A guy who took a little bit of time to figure out who he was. and get things right in his career. But as he did, he turned into a fan favorite and a beloved figure in the fight game. And I think
Luke further went on to assert that this matchup is the perfect fit for International Fight Week, confidently picking Ilia Topuria as the winner. He reflected on Topuria's journey, highlighting how important winning the belt is for him and how it could open the door to even bigger opportunities moving forward.
I suspect Topuria will win. I had not seen the odds. I do believe that is probably coming. But I love this fight, and I love what it means for Topuria to be at lightweight. Again, it's one of those things where I wish... Now, he had some epic fights on his way out the door at 45. I just wish he would have stuck around longer. But, again, same kind of thing. The possibility of what's ahead at 55 to me is incredibly exciting. And, of course, Topuria himself trying to become a champion in 2 different weight classes here on that. And that should not get lost either. And to have done so, or assuming he gets it done, to do so as quickly as he has done it would be, very, I don't think the fastest, but certainly a very quick road to that title, given how long he's been in the UFC. Thrilling, the right kind of main event, I think, for International Fight Week.
Moving on, as speculation around the matchup continues, Mighty Mouse made a bold prediction. He asserted that the reason Ilia Topuria is favored is that Charles Oliveira, in his past few fights, has not only been hurt, but also dropped by his opponents. He predicted that Ilia won't just hurt Charles, but will finish him in a similar fashion to how Islam Makhachev did.
I get to travel. I would never get the opportunity to be able to work out with Sean, work out with you. So right now, we're just going with the flow, man.
And enjoying it. Hell yeah, that's awesome. Well, we got UFC 316 coming up, and co-main event, we got Juliana Pena, the Pacific Northwest scrapper. She's 13-5, taking on 18-1 Kayla Harrison. And Juliana Pena, she brings the fight. She may not look sharp, she may not look good, but she's gonna bring the fight. She's very fucking competitive. She throws weird looping punches, sprinting forward, and she's gonna bring the dog fight. Kayla Harrison, who knows how much she's cutting weight. She has these big cuts.
Additionally, Demetrius Johnson acknowledged that Charles Oliveira has a real chance to win, pointing out that Ilia Topuria was hurt by Jai Herbert in the past. However, he emphasized that Ilia quickly recovered and went on to knock Herbert out, showcasing his resilience and striking power. While Johnson favored Ilia, he stressed that the matchup would be highly competitive, expecting it to go beyond 3 rounds in an engaging battle of styles and tendencies.
If someone gave you 10,000 to bet, who you picking?
I'll pick Kayla Harrison. That's what I'm picking. Even though Juliana Pena is a scrapper, she does come forward with those heat-seeking missiles, kind of like DDP over the fucking guard. I think Kayla Harrison is just a bigger, stronger athlete, great judo, great wrestling. I think she understands where she can, nullify Juliana Pena's like scrappiness. And I'm excited for that fight. But, Juliana Pena, she has beaten Amanda Nunes, one of the GOATs in women's MMA. So you can never count out Pena.
Yeah, I agree. I'd love to see Juliana get it done, but I agree. Kayla Harrison. God, I don't know. I'm gonna pick Juliana Pena there.
At the same time, Tim Welch highlighted the exceptional fighting attributes of Charles Oliveira that could pose serious problems for Ilia Topuria. He pointed out that Charles has one of the best guards in all of MMA and believes that he has the tendency and potential to withstand Ilia's pressure. Welch also praised Ilia's composure and his ability to absorb pressure of all kinds, noting that this mental toughness makes him a truly formidable opponent.
I'm just gonna do it.
She's a big girl. That girl's big.
She is big.
She think she's ever taken testosterone?
I don't think he does.
The Harrison.
I have no idea.
You know what it does? It makes the clit like grows out like a freaking wiener. It does.
Is that a fact?
That's a fact.
Really?
Yeah, it looks like a damn baby thumb sticking out there.
Oh.
You don't want that?
Yeah, you never know. And then next up, we got Kelvin Gastelum, 20-9, taking on Big Joe Pyfer.
Oh.
Middleweight bout. You never know with Kelvin. Kelvin could be a champion on any given day, but he does enjoy his tacos.
Yep.
He does.
He does. Joe Pyfer hit.
Speaking on the matchup, MMA Guru also shared his thoughts. He noted the importance of the belt being on the line and emphasized that this is the right time for both Charles and Ilia to face each other. Guru expressed his curiosity about how well Ilia will perform in the lightweight division, highlighting the intrigue surrounding his potential in this weight class.
I don't even mind an Ilia Topuria Charles Oliveira in the meantime for a title shot. I think that there's a theory about, if there's a belt on the line, it's much bigger.
Yeah.
But people just love the 2 names. Don't always have to be a belt on the line. They do this with a BMF belt. But if Ilia Topuria fights Charles Oliveira on a pay-per-view, That's a big deal.
Oh, it's gonna be bigger.
They don't need to wait for an interim belt. They don't need to wait for an undisputed. So, yeah. I don't know how he's going to do it lightweight, though. Maybe you can speak on that.
On the other hand, Demetrius Johnson expressed full confidence in Ilia Topuria's ability to perform well at 155. He asserted that Ilia's natural weight makes it easier for him to make the cut without much difficulty. In his view, cutting to 155 won't be a major issue for Ilia. He also noted that when fighters compete at or near their natural weight, their performance tends to be at its best.
The smaller coming up, it'll be interesting because he is bigger from when I heard him on the Joe Rogan podcast. Like 191, I think he was walking around. It's massive. So for him to cut to 145, it just seems almost like, how did he do that? But now that he's going up to 155, I always like when athletes go up heavier to their natural weight. Right? Like him cutting to 145, that's not natural. He was able to do it. It's almost like Conor when he was cutting to 145, he was looking at Skeletor, you know, knocking on death's door. Then he went to 55. I was like, okay, this feels good. He beat Eddie Alvarez, and then, you know, Conor, you know, went off and fought Floyd. Shit was history. But I think he's gonna look good at 155. I think he's gonna have to deal with, you know, people look good when they fight people who are there in the same side.
Speaking with confidence about Ilia Topuria competing at 155, Demetrius Johnson also noted that Ilia will need to push harder than he did at 145. Agreeing with Johnson's stance, MMA Guru also backed Ilia to win. He emphasized how much it would mean for Ilia to secure this victory, given the level of competition he's grown through and the potential for bigger matchups ahead. Matchups that could shape a legacy of greatness.
Right? That's the thing we're going to find out. I'm sure he will, but he'll have the power, but I'm sure the 155ers frame will be able to take it more than a 145er kid.
Yeah. I think Ilia Topuria, though, and this is why I think he may have messed up, but I think he's in a position where the next fight has to be bigger for him. Because he's had so many, he's just knocked out Volkanovski and Holloway back to back.
Yeah.
And he was probably looking at, should I fight Volk again? I can't do it better.
Yeah.
So now he's sort of glory hunting. He's stuck to a level of competition that matches the level that he brings into the cage. There's he's now in a no gimme fight.
Yeah.
You know?
It's always gonna be the hardest fight next. If he was to fight Islam and beat Islam, it's like, who? It's gonna have to be Arman Sarukian, someone who hasn't lost yet. I mean, he's lost.
Backing Ilia Topuria to win, Kamaru Usman also shared his thoughts on the matchup. He pointed out that Charles Oliveira being hurt and dropped multiple times makes him a less likely favorite, despite acknowledging Charles as a dangerous opponent for Ilia. Usman went on to say that Ilia won't just hurt Charles, but will mix him up badly, adding that he sees Topuria as the favorite in this fight for good reason.
Woo! Tell that ain't fire, Kush. Hey, 100%. This is exactly how I feel. Exactly how I feel. Yes, I do believe Ilia Topuria can win that fight. You see it. Charles Oliveira gets hurt in a lot of fights, and he gets dropped in a lot of fights. And so now you throw in a guy like Ilia that doesn't just hurt you, he will get you out of there, that mixes up the attack, goes to the body, goes to the head. I think Ilia is the favorite in that fight. Taking nothing away from Charles Oliveira. Charles is very, very dangerous, and Charles is very, very good. But I think Ilia is a favorite in that fight, and I think 100% he goes out there and he gets through Charles Oliveira. 100%, he's next for that.
Reflecting on Ilia Topuria's last fight with Alexander Volkanovski, Kamaru noted that Ilia faced criticism for that matchup, but emphasized there was no clearer opponent for him at the time. That, he said, was the reason Ilia took the fight. Kamaru urged fans to solidify their belief in Topuria's ability to get past Charles Oliveira and make a dominant statement this time around.
He fought Volkanovski twice because really there wasn't a clear-cut guy to go in there and fight him. And so people do give him shit for that. Oh, you fought the same guy twice, blah, blah, blah. So, hey, if Ilia is able to go in there and get past Charles Oliveira, I mean, Charles is has almost all the records in that division.
Sharing his thoughts, Javier Mendez stated that Ilia Topuria has the greater chances of winning. While he expressed his personal hope to see Charles Oliveira come out on top, he admitted that if he had to bet money, he would put it on Ilia, highlighting his strong belief in Topuria's ability to win. Mendez also emphasized that Ilia is not someone who can be easily beaten.
If someone gave me 100 grand but if you're asking me who I would want to win, I'll put Charles. I'll put my money on Charles.
Yeah, that's who you'd want.
Yeah, so that's who I'd want.
Yeah.
But if you'd give me 100 to make 100, you know, if it's that type of even, like you get 100, you can make 100, I would put Ilia.
Yeah.
He feels he cannot be beaten.
Agreeing with Tim Welch, Javier Mendez also noted that Ilia Topuria is a very dangerous fighter. He went on to speculate how the fight might unfold, suggesting that Charles Oliveira will try to stand and trade, while Ilia will look to box on the inside, bringing a more refined skill set to exploit Charles's chin. Mendez warned that if Charles doesn't land effective middle knees or front kicks, he could struggle to handle Ilia's boxing.
As well as anybody, like, the confidence is, that's a big one. If one fighter is very, very confident and they can back it up, I mean, that's a dangerous dude.
Yes, very, very dangerous. You know, very, very dangerous.
Why else do you think you would pick Ilia over Charles? What is it about his skill set that you like more?
It's basically because Charles is going to stand in there upright, like you're saying, and when he gets inside, he's going to use that boxing, and Charles' head's going to be up, and Ilia's got a really good way of connecting with that chin on the inside. Really, really nice, just like what he did with Volk. You know, and I think if Charles doesn't get him up the middle with knees or front kicks up the middle, he's going to have a hard time with his boxing against him.
Seeing serious trouble ahead for Charles Oliveira, Javier Mendez predicted that Charles could have a tough time against Ilia Topuria. He suggested that Charles might still surprise fans with his reach, noting that if he sticks to using middle knees and front kicks, it would give him the best chance to break through. However, Mendez also pointed out that despite Charles's well-rounded skill set, Ilia has rightfully emerged as the favorite based on his own abilities and performances.
And he's going to have a hell of a time trying to take him down. So it's going to be one of those where Ilia's got more opportunities than Charles does. But Charles can surprise us with his length, you know, and up the middle would be really, really well suited for him. And the kicks too, you know, body, head type thing, you know, low, high, you know, he could do really well with that.
Heck yeah. So, okay, someone gives you $100,000 to bet. John Jones versus Tom Aspinall.
If John Jones took it, that means John Jones felt very confident he would win. So I would put the money on John Jones.
Yeah.
You know, so because John Jones is not the type of guy that likes to lose. He's such a winner in every aspect of what he does that you're not going to push him into a fight. If he doesn't feel he can win that fight and doesn't have a good advantage, he's not going to take it. But let's face it, Aspinall is one of those, do you really want to take this fight? Man, I think the UFC is going to have to put a lot of money out there for John to say, okay, I'm down, you know, because John don't need to prove anything to anybody. He's done it all.
Yeah. So, I feel like this is going to be probably a super fight in the future if Islam doesn't stay at welterweight. But if they do Islam versus Paddy Pimblett, what are some things you got to be careful of fighting Paddy Pimblett?
While the world favors Ilia Topuria, Benail Dariush has warned not to underestimate Charles Oliveira's skill set. He asserted that Charles has the best chin, great jiu-jitsu, and amazing striking. In his view, Charles's striking power could catch Ilia off guard and land heavy punches that would make it difficult for Ilia to withstand.
I think it's a lot closer than people think. I think Charles is really tough. I think he's got a good chin. He's got good jiu-jitsu. He's got great striking. And what's going to be difficult for Ilia is Charles's striking is, I think, really dangerous against boxers, against good boxers. The way he throws his knees, the way he, clinches, and those are things you can do to slow down Ilia. Because, for example, a good boxer will dip low to fake or feint to go get in on the inside, and that's times where Charles will just raise his knee and mess with your timing.
Calling the fight closer than many expect, Benail stressed that Charles Oliveira must not be counted out. He claimed that Oliveira will prove to be a tough challenge for Ilia Topuria, and his ability to scramble and find good positioning sets him apart as a dangerous opponent for Ilia.
Throw a kick, things like that. So I think the fight's a lot closer. I understand why people are favoring Ilia, and I think if you had to ask me, I probably would favor him as well. But I don't think it's gonna be like, oh, he's gonna walk through Charles like everybody thinks.
It's interesting as well, right? Because Topuria's ground game, like we keep hearing how good it is. We've seen glimpses of it, but good. Charles is pretty dangerous there on the ground too, right? And we can never discount in scrambling positions, especially when it comes to taking people's backs, capitalizing in those scrambles or in the transitional areas. Charles could be dangerous if it does hit the ground in this one, right?
Yeah, of course, Charles is always dangerous. Here's what I would say.
Additionally, Dariush noted that Ilia Topuria also has strong jiu-jitsu skills. Reflecting on Ilia's past fights against Ryan Hall and Bryce Mitchell, he pointed out that Ilia was successful in defending takedowns and effectively handling his opponents. He acknowledged Ilia's capability to maintain good positioning against fighters who are also skilled in jiu-jitsu.
I know Ilia's jiu-jitsu is very good because when he fought Ryan Hall, I believe, right? He fought him and he did really well. Even if, you know, the fight was on the ground or he was throwing ground and pound, he did fine. The fact that he was able to stuff, man, why am I forgetting his name right now? He got taken down by him and then stuffed his takedowns. Wow, I can't believe it. Man,
Bryce Mitchell?
Bryce Mitchell, there you go, thank you. He was able to stop Bryce's takedowns and you know, eventually turn it around, and then when he was on top, he was able to just get into positions really quickly.
Dariush went on to acknowledge that while Charles is a tough opponent for Ilia, Ilia himself also has impressive fighting abilities, making this matchup predictably tough. He noted that Ilia's grappling has proven to be strong and effective, adding that his grappling skills have been underrated, something he believes everyone should recognize and take into consideration.
I don't care, you know, what people say. The guy can grapple. Like, you could not be a fan of his, but you can't say he's not a good grappler. So he's a good grappler. I feel like he's fought other good grapplers down, and he just shuts them down. So I think Ilia's grappling is very, very good, and if anything, it could be considered underrated.
Meanwhile, Paddy Pimblett highlights the intensity and skill level both fighters bring to the octagon. He acknowledges Oliveira's experience and dangerous striking, but also praises Topuria's technical prowess and determination. Paddy emphasizes that this matchup is highly intriguing because it pits Oliveira's well-rounded game against Topuria's aggressive style.
Do you think Ilia beats Charles then?
I think he might, to be honest. Charles is a bit chinny and he always gets cracked. If he gets him down, I can see him winning, because that 10-pound difference is a big difference. Charles is like my height, Ilia's like down here. It's probably better for me if Ilia wins the belt, lad, because he'll probably call me out.
That's a wrap on today's deep dive into the Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira showdown. From expert predictions and fierce backing by legends like Demetrius Johnson and Kamaru Usman, to the underrated grappling skills and knockout potential, this fight is shaping up to be one of the most exciting matchups in MMA right now. Who's your pick to take the belt? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, smash that like button if you enjoyed the breakdown, and don't forget to subscribe for more fight insights coming your way. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.